Okay, so we're back in the garage. My anxiety trying to explain that stuff didn't end up panning out, but in this video, what we're going to be doing today is talking about how to add those voluptuous curves to your Dodge Challenger. So straight up, let me just go ahead and explain to y'all. You do not have to cut your fender flares in order to put the wide body kit in your car. That is not something that you have to do depending upon the circumstance. Circumstances that might require that would be having a lower vehicle or running a very big tire. Those are the main two things that would change that kind of perspective, but there is no cutting that is required. There is no drilling that is required. I'm going to tell you the easiest way to wide body your Dodge Challenger, whether or not you have a RT, V6, Scat Pack, or whatever, or even a Hellcat. Starting it off, the things that you'll need, of course, number one being that you need a wide body kit. There's two kits that I really recommend. You can either go with the Icon kit, which is cheaper. You can get that right now for about $400 and some change. The Icon kit is a little bit more up there. It's about $600 and a little bit more. They don't, and I'll let you guys know right now. It's around $600. I'll let you guys know right now. If you lose any of these pieces for your kit, they will not replace one or two of the pieces. They don't part out any of these kits. You'll have to rebuy this whole kit over again. And I've learned that from experience. Like I said, the things that you need a wide body kit. You need the adhesive that you're going to be using. You can get away with 3M double-sided adhesive tape, or you can use Gorilla double-sided adhesive tape. The Gorilla is a lot stronger, honestly. You also need adhesive promoter. That is what's going to help the fender flare stick to the car and bond to it. It does not mess up your paint. It is all removable. If you don't want to cut anything, adhesive promoter and the double-sided adhesive tape is your best bet on making sure that these flares stay in your car. You can, of course, yes, use panel bond and stuff, but that is permanent and that will mess up your paint whenever it's time to get that off. This is for anybody that wants it temporarily on the car. This can also be a permanent solution if you don't ever want to lower your car also. And I don't mean permanent solution meaning that they'll stay on the car forever. I'm saying, if you don't have any plans on taking them off. So your best bet, if you don't want to mess up your paint, if you don't want to do any cutting or anything like that, just grab either an Icon kit, a Vicrez kit, and use double-sided stick adhesive tape and adhesive promoter. That's the main thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about, is the promoter itself. That adhesive promoter is what's going to make the double-sided tape bond to not only the fender flares itself, but the panels on your car. It's not going to mess up your paint. You can heat it up and remove it afterwards. And that's how my flares are on my car right now. I will be changing all my flares out to OEM flares, meaning that I'm going to be changing out the whole front fender flare and everything else. But that is later on down the road. For anybody else that's wanting to get the wide body look, you can do it with just the Vicrez kit, the Icon kit, adhesive promoter, the double-sided stick tape. And there's a company called Factory Reproductions. They have created a set of wheels that mimic the wide body wheels with the correct spec and everything, that you don't have to run a spacer or anything. It all comes out looking very, very clean, and there isn't any big modifications that are going to be needed in order to make sure that this thing clears. As far as my tire setup, I run 315 35/20s all the way around on all four corners of the wheels. The wheels themselves are OEM Devil's wheels 20/11 with a negative 2.5 millimeter offset. And in order to run those wheels on the stock car, you can't run it on a base V6 or RT without changing out that front spindle. The only way to get around that is by running a little spacer, a 5mm spacer or something like that in the front, so that the top part of the wheel itself won't rub up against the actual spindle, because the spindle on the V6 and RTs are different than what's on the Hellcats, and It's different than any vehicle that comes with the Brembos from factory. I'll just say that. Okay, so as far as installation, what you're gonna wanna do is mask off the surface in which you're gonna be installing the flares onto, so that you can mock up the flare onto that part and make sure that it sits the exact way that you want it to sit. Once you're done with that, what you're gonna wanna do is trace out the flare to make sure that you have an area in which that it needs to sit into, so that whenever it comes time to remove the tape, you can just stick the flare on the car. So now that you have masked off your front fender, right, you have already traced out where your fender needs to go. What then needs to happen is you need to prep the actual fender flares for installation. So in prepping whatever wide body kit it is that you have for installation, they'll have two parts. They'll have these little plastic parts that run the diameter of the lower part of the fender, and then they'll have the actual ridge section on the flares that the adhesive needs to be, that the tape needs to be applied to. Also, the tape needs to be applied to that little plastic piece. You need to wipe those sections down first with isopropyl alcohol, make sure that they're completely clean, no grease or anything. Then what you're going to want to do is wrap it with the adhesive promoter to make sure that the tape has a surface to bond to. And then from there, what you're going to do is apply the tape. Once the flares have been prepped and the adhesive has been applied to the flare and the tape has been applied to the flare, you want to make sure that, I can't stress this enough, you again want to make sure that the surface in which you're about to install the flare on is clean, and that the adhesive promoter that you have wiped onto the section where the fender flare is about to go has been prepped properly, and that make sure that the actual promoter has fully cured. So from there, you want to start going ahead and putting on all the pieces onto the vehicle. You want to make sure that they're pressed firmly onto the car and that there isn't any kind of gap in between any of the pieces. They all should line up fairly well. There shouldn't be any gaps in between any of the parts. And I mean, that's pretty much it. And I mean, it's fairly straightforward. Anybody can really install the wide body kit onto their cars. It just depends on if you're gonna have the patience and time to go ahead and do that. Now, if your car is lowered or has any kind of height alterations onto the vehicle, at that point in time, then you would, yes, of course, have to start cutting stuff in order to make it fit. Not only cutting the fender, not only cutting the wide body kit, but actually cutting the fenders on your car. So if you run wide body wheels onto the car, you're gonna have to cut the fender flares. There's just no way around it, because there's not gonna be enough clearance for the suspension to travel and not smack into your fenders without popping them off or creating any other kind of damage. If you're cutting, that's a whole different sector. What I'm just talking about today is more so just the average person that just wants the wide body look. You can go and buy the Icon or Vicrest kit. You can do the double-sided stick tape and the adhesive promoter and just slap it right on. Painting, that is something that you would have to find someone to do, whether or not you have a friend that can do that and hook you up with that, or if you have to take it to a shop and have them paint it there. That's where the kits vary in price. So that's just up to like who you know, or you know what route you want to go with that. But as far as everything else, I mean, that's all there is to it. Like I said, I've given you guys the wheel specs. I've gone over the simple install for the wide body kit. There's not a whole lot to it. It's actually very simple. If you just take your time with the install, the effort that you put in is the quality of work that you're going to get out. So yeah, this has been a highly requested video, and I mean, I already have the fenders on my car. You guys won't see me install them onto it until you won't see me take them off and reinstall them, which I'll still be making a video on. You won't see that though until I'm ready to, you know, do painting and other stuff like that. So it's a fairly straightforward process. If you guys have any questions or need any help, you know, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and shoot me a DM. I'll be happy to answer your question. And I mean, yeah, so appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below. This has been Lucky, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.